Yo, what's up? This is Understare, and welcome back to my channel where I like to talk about all things spooky, scary, and have a little bit of fun. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about Blumhouse's new movie, Woman in the Yard. Now, first and foremost, this movie hasn't been out very long, but it is already very controversial and very divisive. This thing covers some very sensitive topics, and some people aren't so sure that they're doing it in a sensitive way. Without spoiling too much, the film is very bleak and open for interpretation. These are things that we're going to touch on throughout the review as we're going through this whole thing, but as for right now, I can't really get into it much. But is Blumhouse's new movie good? What's it about? What's going down? The Woman in the Yard is a 2025 American psychological horror film directed by James Colette Serra and written by Sam Stefanik in his feature film screenwriting debut. This is another film from Blumhouse and shows us what happens when a mysterious woman appears seated still in a grief-stricken family's front yard, often delivering chilling warnings and unsettling messages, leaving them to question her identity, motives, and perhaps even the potential danger she might pose. So is this new movie a ghost movie? Is it about demonic possession? Could it perhaps even be more psych than horror? And what is all the fuss centering around this movie about? To answer all those questions and more, we're gonna dive into it today. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the movie. The film begins with some intense editing cutting around a farmhouse, leading us to the introduction of our main character Ramona, as she lies in bed and watches a video on her phone. As the video plays, we see Ramona in bed with her late husband as they share a conversation about their future hopes and dreams. They speak of Ramona's favorite flowers, irises, and fantasize about what to name their farm when they're done fixing it up. When the video ends, the stone-faced and stoic widow replays the video again, soaking up every last bit of the memory. This is abruptly interrupted as Ramona's son and oldest child, Tay, rips open the blinds, letting the light into the room, and berates his mother that she must get out of bed. The power's out, and she needs to call the power company, as she's the only one in the house who has a working phone. The depressed mother reluctantly agrees to call them up and struggles to pull herself out of bed to her crutches. She hobbles over to check in on her young daughter Annie, who's posted up in her play fort, gently reading a story to her cute little stuffed penguin. Ramona does her best to connect with her child, but as she hobbles back off down the hall, we quickly see Annie's smile fade away as she can sense something's just off. Downstairs, Tay does his best to take care of the family, but his mentally absent mother hasn't left him too many tools to perform the task with. They're out of dog food, so he feeds him some leftover mashed potatoes. They're out of any proper protein, so he makes the eggs garnished with Doritos. And when he goes to make those eggs, the matchbox is even empty, so he can't even light up the stove, forcing him up into the attic to find a way to feed his family. While up there, he looks through a box of his dad's belongings and finds a mug with the phrase, "If you believe it, you can build it," scripted onto the side of it. And just what he needs, he also finds a Zippo lighter. Ramona cleans herself up and realizes that her phone's died from draining it playing those videos on loop. Then she makes her way downstairs and finds that breakfast has already been served. You think she'd be impressed by her son's work, but she's distracted by the sight of the father's mug placed in his seat. While the family laughs at and enjoys Tay's creative Dorito-filled cooking, the dog is not as receptive to these new alternatives and throws it all up. Ordering the children to let the dog out, Ramona looks through a pile of old overdue mail, sorting through to a nice little thoughts and prayers card from a family member. It's a nice thought, but this unfortunately triggers Ramona's PTSD, sending her into a zoned-out trance of bright lights and flying shards of glass. This right here was one aspect of the movie that I did personally really enjoy. The portrayal of PTSD here is pretty wild. Unless you're somebody that experiences it yourself, it's kinda hard to explain, but the way that she zones out and is temporarily captivated in the moment while simultaneously being present in what's going on is just very well done and artistically so. Ramona here is struggling hard, but her kids really need her. With her grief completely overwhelming her, she's been failing as a mother and it's been reflecting poorly in her kids' lives. With the way that everything's being managed in the house, it seems like the father's role here is deeply missed. Seems like he really held this place together. In this vision, we see through a window peering out at a woman seated in the yard. And wouldn't you know, she's snapped out of this when Andy informs her that there is in fact a woman seated in their yard. The dog barks incessantly as Ramona goes outside to see what's up with the vagrant. She calls out to the woman, but receives no answer. Well, at least until she hobbles a little bit closer. The woman mumbles, "How did I get here?" But of course, Ramona has no idea and came to ask her that herself. She concludes that the woman is probably just from the old folks' home nearby, but she can't get any information out of her and quickly gets annoyed with the situation. Suddenly, the woman's tone tightens and becomes a bit more menacing as she says, "Today's the day." And then she shows Ramona her hands, which are absolutely covered in blood. Now, Ramona's reasonably a bit scared, and she cries out that the woman better leave as her husband would be home any minute, but the woman just laughs. She references Ramona's late husband and the fact that they have the wrecked car in the front yard. Ramona has now had enough and retreats to the garage barn where their spare car is parked, passing their chicken coop in the process and seeing that all of the animals have been slaughtered. While Ramona's in the garage, the woman puts on her best Nosferatu impression and uses his creepy shadow hands to reach out to the barking dog. Ramona tries to charge her phone in the car, but she just can't get the thing to turn over. Abandoning her plan, she makes a new one and heads back inside of the house. Once inside, she simply tells Tay and Annie that the woman is a crazy old lady off of her meds and for them to just stay away from her. That should band-aid the situation, right? Well, no, obviously it does not. They just watched the whole ordeal go on, and Tay thinks that someone needs to step up to the plate to protect their family. The power's out, the phone is dead, and it's time to arm themselves for defense and get their father's gun. This sends Ramona into a rage as she snaps and smashes her late husband's mug in defiance. She screams for her son to go to his room, but he just ignores this request and pulls a chair up to the window where he can keep eyes on the strange woman. Man, they are really just not painting Ramona in the best light here. They're really not giving her a chance to land with the audiences. I mean, really? You just went through all of that and you think that the best thing to do is to tell your kids that she's just a crazy lady? Man, y'all need to get up out of there immediately, obviously. Her judgment's been skewed by everything that's going on in her personal life, but just telling the kids that nothing's really wrong as to not scare them and just trying to blow the whole thing off is crazy work. Tay is definitely in the right, and I'm all for it, man. Protect what's yours. The kid is absolutely doing what he can to keep his family safe, and he's stepping up into that role. Keep your eyes on that woman in the yard, man. Don't let her out of your sight. As minutes pass and Tay stands guard, Annie goes on with her day and starts working out some spelling homework. The poor kid's having some dyslexia though, as she just can't help but get mixed up and write the R's backwards. Tay comes up with an idea for him to use his limited driving experience to simply drive up the farm road to the next house over and ask them for some help. But Ramona, unwilling to admit for some reason that their second car's already broken down, simply dismisses his idea without reason or explanation. This annoys Tay, and he takes out his aggression by loudly thumping a tennis ball against the wall over and over playing catch. Once again, Ramona flips out and grabs the ball, throwing it out of the window and unloads on both of her kids, screaming at Tay before redirecting her rage onto Annie, berating her for not being able to write her R's properly. After getting it all out, she simmers down a bit, but her apologies fall on deaf ears as her kids are pretty freaked out from the outbursts and fed up with her. During this whole altercation, we also notice that the woman has managed to inch her way up ever so slightly closer to the house. As a bit more time passes, Ramona tries again to console her daughter. She picks her up and tells her that everything's gonna be okay. But I wouldn't bet on that, judging by the fact that Ramona is also holding a knife to her back. As she plunges the knife into her daughter's back, we quickly are snapped to reality and realize that this was just a dream. But Ramona was actually holding a pillow and did stab it in front of Tay. See, this right here is what I'm talking about. What is going on with Ramona? Besides the woman out in the yard, clearly there's something wrong with Mommy Dearest here. It's a real good thing that Tay is locked in though, because something's up with Ma. Here's to hoping that he's able to keep his eyes on his little sister, huh? Turning her attention elsewhere, Ramona realizes that she hasn't heard the dog barking in a while. She goes outside to check on him, but receives no answers to her calls. When she approaches his chain, she finds that it's been partially buried under the dirt. She picks it up and gives the chain a little tug, and it unearths to its end, but to her dismay, there's no sign of the family's pet. Ramona heads back inside and finds Annie has cut her foot on a shard of glass from the mug she broke. She takes her upstairs and tends to her wound, while Tay makes use of this time to retrieve his father's gun. The mother does her best to intervene in this, but Tay takes advantage of her being crippled and traps her in a room, removing the doorknob from the outside. He heads to the yard, gun at the ready, and demands the woman leave immediately. Of course she doesn't, but even more so, she stands up, approaches Taylor, and unveils her face. She doesn't appear to be anyone that he recognizes, but she does tell him that his obviously distrusted mother never told him and Annie the whole truth about what happened to their father. Tay doesn't really know what to make of all of this, but when she waves her hand, causing her very shadow to flick at some wind chimes, he freaks out and runs around back looking for his dog. Yet again, no dog is found, and yet again, he tries and fails to start their car, but only now does he realize that the car isn't gonna start, and that his mother already knew this because he saw her go outside and try to start it earlier. With all options exhausted, Tay heads back into the house and releases his mother from her room to confront her with this information. He tells Annie to head to her room and informs his mother that he knows she hasn't told the truth about their father, and demands for her to tell him now. A flashback shows the father. David, and Ramona on a very lavish date at an upscale restaurant. David tells his wife that he loves her and wants her to be happy, but that he's noticed she hasn't seemed all too happy lately. He explains that they used to live in the city, but that she didn't appreciate that kind of life. So together, they made the decision to move to the country and open up a family farm. But even here, Ramona still feels stifled and drowned under the pressures of taking care of the kids, her husband, the farm, the chickens. It's all just too much, and she has no time for herself. David tells her that they got into all of this as a family, and whatever problems they need to solve, they'll solve them together. But Ramona dismisses this and says she maybe just needs to step up and split from the family altogether to pursue her own happiness. Their dinner ends abruptly as Ramona storms out with the keys. David meets her at the car after handling the check and tells her that if she wants to figure these things out, she's gonna have to dig a lot deeper than all that. They take off from the diner into the dark and stormy night. The drive is silent, but Ramona clearly has a lot screaming in her mind. As she takes her eyes off of the road for a moment to peer into the rear view, she sees the woman from the yard seated in the back, and David screams, alerting her to watch the road. His cries are far too late though, and they ram head on into another vehicle. Alright, so all cards are on the table now, and Tay knows exactly how his father died. This whole sequence here, this whole scene just really upset me, man. And not because of the usual Blumhouse bad filmmaking and all that. This thing really upset me just at its core. Ramona sucks. Point blank, she is terrible. She's so unrelatable and just a bad person at heart, man. I get it. It's 2025. It's 2025. But she comes off so cold here and just does not care about her husband or her family at all. She's only concerned about her personal feelings, and they seem to be insatiable at that. In this world, there are people like Ramona who just cannot be happy, I guess. And it pains me to see this good man doing his best to try to be even with this woman. If you think I'm being harsh here, trust me, in this movie, when she's driving the car right here and it leads to his death, it almost looks like she's just driving with so much ego. She's all mad, not paying attention to anything that's going on. Her seeing the woman in the back right before the car crashing could mean a few things, but I don't want to jump the gun and get ahead of myself. We're gonna have to talk about that at the end. All I'm saying here, man, is that Tay's got a reason to be upset. Tay is floored by this revelation, but he doesn't have time to process it at all. From outside the house, the woman begins toying with the family using her Nosferatu shadow puppets. The house explodes into full paranormal activity, poltergeist nonsense. If it's not nailed down, it's flying around the house right now. The family flees to their attic, sealing any light from entering in hopes to cut off the woman's abilities. But for whatever reason, this doesn't work, and the woman appears inside and attacks the family. Through the insanely strobed out perspective of a broken flashlight, we watch the family battle against the woman until the children are separated and Ramona is seemingly imprisoned as a Peter Pan-esque shadow lingering behind the woman. Here, Tay watches as his little sister is approached by the woman, who calls out to her that she would never harm her, before embracing the child and vanishing altogether. Now, Ramona reappears to confront Tay. Then the two descend the attic and search for Annie. As they traverse the house, they're separated and Ramona is thrown into a dream sequence. We see her return to the moment from the video in our opening, but this time, she's in the moment physically reliving it. Everything feels perfect. A little bit too perfect. And the moment turns sour when she's attacked by the visage of David, transporting Ramona to her own front yard with some sort of drape on her face. And is that? It is! Ramona from the beginning of the film calling out to her from the distance. The Ramona that we are watching this perspective from calls out, "How did I get here?" We are then teleported back to Ramona's bedroom as the woman explains that she's the answer to all of Ramona's prayers. Ooh, we got the whole Fight Club twist yet again. There's gotta be at least like 5 pieces of media a year that use this twist, huh? So we see here Ramona in a bunch of different circumstances where her and the woman in black, no, that's a different movie, where her and the woman in the yard are switching places and she's the one donning the funeral attire, looking at herself. We even see her up in the attic and explain that whole weird sequence where she ran away with the little girl. This time when we see it, it's actually Ramona standing in her place. So, is Ramona the woman? Is the woman like a piece of Ramona, a piece of her psyche that's trying to tell her to do all this? Is the woman even real in the first place? Is this just something that Ramona is seeing? I mean, I don't think so, because the kids respond to it, but I guess you could make the argument that she's just so insane that she thinks that the kids are seeing it, but really it's just her completely losing her mind. The whole unreliable narrator angle. But in that case, then like, how much of this movie is real at all? This whole thing is probably just a psychotic delusion, and we have no idea what's actually going down. Did Ramona kill the dog? Did Ramona kill the chickens? Is she the one putting the whole family at risk here? What is going on? From the trailers and promo and stuff like that, they really booked it that this thing was going to be a demon preying on this family. I'm not 100% sure if that's what we're supposed to be getting out of this, but it's all so confusing. And it's not like they left us a trail of breadcrumbs to like really figure this out. I mean, they kind of did, and we're gonna go over that at the end, but I'm just saying, I'm confused. They say that the woman came to her because she prayed for her, and that she's like the answer to her prayers, like some kind of guardian angel or something like that. But then the whole Fight Club twist thing showing her in the place just like really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It creates a paradoxical effect where there has to be like a chicken before the egg or vice versa, you know what I mean? The poor defeated mother wakes up every day and prayed for the strength, not to be the best mother that she could be, but to have the strength to put it all to an end. She exclaims that she can't, as she has to protect her family, but the woman informs her that she's a terrible mother that sucks at her job and is actively destroying her children's psyche. She shows Ramona images of the children grown up and successful, telling her that they won't end up like that with her in their lives. Ramona accepts this and tells the image that she has to say goodbye to the kids one last time. She heads downstairs and pushes the kids out of the house, urging them to find the neighbors and call for help. They think this is weird and abrupt, so they protest, but Ramona is adamant and orders them away. Tay gives her a long look, asserting that he knows something's up, and Annie gives her mother Mr. Penguin so that she won't be left alone, before the two head off on their own. Ramona returns upstairs, and in an extraordinarily bleak sequence, we watch as she struggles to position the rifle, and the ghost of the woman in the yard assists. From here, the camera pans out, and the score falls silent as we anticipate a bang that we never hear. Instead, Ramona emerges from the house without her crutches and embraces her children as they come running back to their home. Even the dog's here, and he shows up and gives everyone some good boy lovin's. The kids ask what happened. How did she defeat the woman? Ramona simply says she's gone. It's over. If she ever comes back, their mother will know how to handle it this time. As the family enters the house, they walk past a sign that says Iris's Family Farm, and on cue, the power comes back on. The final shot of the movie shows the camera pan to a self-portrait of Ramona with another face appearing in the background. In the bottom right of the painting is her signature, and the R in that signature appears backwards. Okay, so the ending here kind of implies that, the ending itself is fake. I mean, I don't know. When we break this down and look at it, I mean, there's so much that's going on here that just doesn't necessarily make sense in the real world setting. The kids are back, the farm is named, the power mysteriously comes back on, the dog comes in, and most notably of all, she's able to walk perfectly fine without her crutches. These are all things that lead me to believe that maybe this is her afterlife or something. Maybe she really does do it at the end of the movie. Maybe they thought that ending it just like that was a little bit too bleak, so they decided to give us some kind of speculation to hold here. In the very last shot of the movie, focusing on that painting with the R backwards, I'm not 100% sure what they're signaling with that. I looked online to see what other people were saying about this ending, and I saw so many speculative answers that were just so wild, completely out of the box, just because I guess that's what it takes to fill in the gaps here. The truth of the matter is, it just wasn't very well put together. I think that the impression here is that she did actually die, and that this is just her afterlife or something like that. Another theory that I've seen is that maybe she's still trapped in that other dimension and the woman in the yard is using her body or something to that effect, but they didn't really give us anything that led us to believe that that's what was happening in this movie. There's no reason to assume that that was the goal here of this woman. From the mantra "today is the day" to the ending that we saw, it seemed like, to a lot of people and to me at least, this movie is some kind of a wild interpretation of a woman who's just on her end. She wants to do it, she has a whole family, and this is her struggle with all of that. There really was no woman in the yard, and the whole thing is just a dramatization of someone struggling with those kind of thoughts and feelings. I don't know though, you'll have to hit those comments down below and let me know how you interpreted the ending of this movie. I truly believe that there's no one right answer. If there was, they would have given it to us in the film, but they didn't. They left it up to us to decide, so let's have some fun with that. I have heard rumors that I cannot confirm or deny, but people have said that there are actually multiple endings to this movie. Nothing too important or story altering, more so just that some people have seen different things when looking at that painting signature at the end of the film. Some people see it with the R backwards, some people see it with the signature just read regular, and some people see it with the whole thing backwards. I'm not 100% sure what that's supposed to mean. Actually, I'm not 1% sure what that's supposed to mean, but I am pretty sure that that wouldn't change the implications of the ending of this movie whatsoever. The woman in the black had some interesting powers about her throughout this thing, didn't she? At first, she's just got those Nosferatu shadow abilities where she's able to move things around and bump into things, causing havoc in the house. But as soon as they seal all the light out, she all of a sudden just starts teleporting around and trapping people in shadow dimensions. When we see her a few times throughout the film, we see that she's got like half of her face kind of blown off, and I think that that has something to do with the whole implication of what Ramona's like end goal here is, but I'm not 100% sure what's up with this ghost. If we take the whole thing literally and we assume that maybe she was a demon that came to her when she prayed and answered her prayers, providing her with the strength to do this terrible thing that she wanted to do, then she appears as an apparition in the yard that tortures those on their last leg, pushing them with her mystical shadow puppets to do the unthinkable. The themes throughout this movie are rough, and I personally do not think that they handled them very well here at all. I mean, Ramona is just the most unlikable character that I've seen in a Blumhouse movie in a while, and that's saying a lot because the Blumhouse characters are normally pretty hollow and terrible. I swear one day I'm gonna make a video just ripping Blumhouse to shreds, so be ready for that. They have a few hitters, don't get me wrong, but they pump out a lot of garbage like this just to make a quick buck, hoping that one of them will hit like a winning lottery ticket. But that's not what this video is about. That's neither here nor there. I really wish that the sensitive themes in this movie were handled a lot better and treated with a lot more care. Something like this has a lot of potential to be really good, but it was just handled too immaturely in this film. The whole thing plays like your standard jump scare Blumhouse movie, and it just really doesn't have the artistic nature and intention behind it that something like this would need in order to get that message across properly. But that's all I got for you guys today. How did you feel about The Woman in the Yard? Did you really enjoy this movie, or did you share some of the same opinions that I did about it? However you're feeling about it, hit those comments down below and let me know. And if you enjoyed my video today, be sure to send it over to a friend you think might enjoy it too. I'm still new over here on YouTube, so take a minute to browse my catalog. You might find some other videos you like. I've been Eldritch Terror, and whether your day's been going good or bad today, I hope it gets better.